We're here with Jose at CGNY at their new establishment here in Brooklyn. It is a very nice establishment, and we are very excited to actually speak with Jose, who is the community leader for CGNY. So, my first question to you, Jose, is tell me a little bit more about yourself and CGNY.
Yeah, so I actually moved to New York a little over a year ago, and when I came here, I was looking just for friends, right? I didn't know anybody, like I literally didn't know a single person that lived, especially in Manhattan. And so I just kind of started reaching out, like things like Meetup and just like nerd stuff, like who's doing all the like board games and stuff. And so I happened to run into what was at the time called Game House Universe. And so Game House Universe, it was their second event, and it's something that Chris Kavalik, who founded all this stuff, he was doing a LAN, which was, I think the first time that he did it, it was about 13 people.
Right.
And then when I showed up, it was a little bit more, but I instantly fell in love with what was going on, just the fact that we could play on like a really nice venue in Manhattan, just like get to know everybody, and if you have one game in common, then you can just talk to people about whatever.
Exactly.
And so from there, that's when I talked to Chris, and we kind of started working together with a couple of other volunteers to get this rolling. And so we eventually became community gaming, which made a lot more sense, since that's what this whole thing was about. Like, Chris was looking for friends, I was looking for friends, and we were just looking to grow this big community of gamers in New York. And that's kind of where everything went. And so right now, we're hosting, I think maybe last year we hosted over 2,000 people.
Wow.
And so a lot of them, some are repeats, but the majority of them are unique impressions that we make every time. So
wow.
We're definitely reaching out to the New York community, and I think we have a pretty good reputation so far for, being there for gamers and
nice.
What we're trying to do. Yeah.
So, what was your passion that actually connected you with, Chris, and towards the community as well?
Gaming has always been a huge part of my life, and it's always, up until this started happening, I was always in that position. I'm sure a lot of us have been, where we ask ourselves, like, where are all the gamers? Because, like, I'm sitting at home, and I just don't know, where to find other people that I can identify with, besides my immediate friends from, like, school, things like that. And so it was just that, like, being able to reach out to, like, anybody that decides to come to these events and make those instant friendships, and just have, like, an instant connection with people, and then the games sort of become irrelevant at some point.
Right.
And then you're just gamers, you're just, like, talking about stuff, and you get to know each other. And it's, I love that about this and, like, everything that we're doing, because we're basically making connections, we're making friendships happen, and that's really what the community is all about.
What's it like to be the front man for CGNY, the community leader who basically is, leading these, the volunteers that you have and amongst the people? What's it like, being in that position?
Well, it's interesting because or at least I try to make sure that everyone feels like there's not really a hierarchy going on. Like, we try to make sure everything, we do have to be organized. So there is kind of like who do you come to with questions of, like, there's a fire we need to put out, whatever, like something happened, like, who do we go to? But besides that, we try to make sure that everyone feels like they're a part of it, and, like, our volunteers are amazing. Like, we couldn't do any of this without them. And honestly, like, all these guys are leaders in, like, growing the community, like, all these guys. And every time that we have an event, we have more and more people that just attend, that they say, how do we get involved? And so, like, this is what makes it grow, right? Like, all these volunteers. So, it's fun being part of the group that sort of decides when we're gonna do the events, how we're gonna run them, things like that. But it really comes down to, like, all the volunteers and just the community. Like, they're the MVPs. They're the ones, like, making this happen for us.
Exactly. What have you learned? What's the difference from back then and now? As far as organization-wise, personality.
Well, the most important thing we learned is that finding a venue in New York is really, really difficult. It's incredibly hard, and there's since this is so new, like people still don't understand it.
Right.
So it makes it even more difficult for us to say like, hey, we need a space for X amount of people to come just play games in your office.
Right.
And, that sounds really scary to a lot of people. So I think that's changing, and the more that this grows, the more that esports becomes mainstream. People are starting to like ease up a little bit more, and we're able to get great places like this. Thanks to like coworkers, by the way, who have been like awesome in providing all these spaces. They've been very accommodating with us.
Nice.
But yeah, I think back to your question. I think one of the most important lessons that I've gathered from here is that gamers just want to be together, and like it doesn't matter. Like everyone's hungry for this, especially here in the East Coast, because not a lot of things happen in the West Coast. Like even the LCS is like prominently down there. Everyone in New York is like hungry for esports to be here, and we don't really have a lot of things happening yet, but everyone's trying, and I think that's one of the like biggest things that I was like, oh my gosh, like nothing's happening in New York. How could this be? Like I just got here and I thought it was gonna be this booming like industry of like gamers everywhere and like things like that, but that's not the case, which was very surprising to me. But it's something that is changing a little bit more, and the more I talk to people, it seems like especially 2016 is gonna be pretty good.
What have you learned as far as reaching out to the gamers out there? Like, I'm pretty sure you did Reddit and other platforms. Like, what have you done differently before and now to create such a huge community?
A lot of it has just been really this very organic growth, because we didn't have like a like I was saying earlier in a previous conversation, that we're operating on like a zero marketing budget, right? Like, so we're just using social media and all these things that we're pretty sure is where our base is where all the gamers are kind of looking. But it's very difficult to reach out to all of them, because like things like Facebook, things like that, they're sort of they're not the best venue to get the word out. It's like, hey, if you want friends, like this is where we are. Like you can promote it kind of like a business, but it doesn't really get that message across. That like,
so it's kind of like an underground thing where like
yeah, and it's so weird, because like gaming and gamers are mainstream. Like we are the majority, I think, like a very strong majority that is underground.
Right.
And so it's very difficult, like reaching out to all these people. Reddit has been a great tool.
Right.
Like Reddit has been so welcoming to us. Like every time we post one of our events, it's like first or second page on like every subreddit that we post on.
Nice.
And so yeah, that's been like great, and it's been a great source of like the users that we get. A lot of them say like, oh, we heard about you guys from Reddit or whatever. But as we grow, we've noticed that a lot more people are coming from like the Facebook group, or like they just randomly find us. So it's one of those things that I think with anything, it's just kind of slow at the beginning, and the more traction that we get, the more like word of mouth gets out, because I think that's kind of what we're relying on right now. It's like kind of a word of mouth.
What's the big question? What's next for CGNY?
Oh man, we have a lot of different things. They're kind of ambitious. First of all, obviously, we just want to. The first thing we want to do is just grow. So we want to reach out more. We want to have bigger events. We did the LCS Worlds Party last year, and we filled out an entire theater in Times Square, and like that was great. We want to do that, but we want to fill 2 theaters. We want to expand to reach out not just to the LAN community, but we want to reach out maybe to the creative community, because that's what New York is. It's like all the most creative people in the world are here, right? And so we think that CGNY could definitely reach out to all these like gamers that they make YouTube videos, like all these things. We want to make sure that they're part of the community, not just the people that want to come play the games here. So that's a big part of, I think, what we have in store. And then the other things we'll see as we can roll them out. Like we operate with all the volunteers that are like, they invest so much time into this. So it'll just depend on how much we can like kind of push each other and not kind of fatigue it, because but yeah, like that's the most I think that I can share in terms of like what we have going on right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. best of luck on everything.
Yeah, thank
like,
you.
you know, I was present. My brother and I were present in one of the events. Definitely a game changer. Like, you know, we saw everything. And we're like, wow, this is what it feels like to be in a community, and seeing your community grow is actually like fulfilling as a gamer, because I saw this when I was a kid, but growing up now it's more or less a taboo, like, you know, because we're adults, like, you know, or young adults that are coming out and still play video games. Seeing a community like this is definitely a game changer, like, you know, as far as like my interest in hobbies. And
No, and I totally appreciate it. That's what we want. We want everyone to be, regardless of age. Like I said, we're all gamers. We all have this. We've all lived the same adventures. We all like race at the same, you know, feeder, bot lane, whatever. So like, I get it, and I love that we're bringing everybody together, and I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks
Jose.
so much.
This is Gian again from Ward eSports Marketing, signing out.